Man, so I asked the cards about your issue. This card at the center is you, which is the world. Very auspicious card to find in the center. To find it representing you is basically somebody who has the world at their feet. The world is your oyster, a world of possibilities. That, of course, can also be sort of unnerving, right? Because it's so many possibilities you don't quite know what to do. But they are all open to you, which is good. This card, which covers you, is kind of a bummer, because basically this is what opposes you. It's the Emperor. The Emperor is pretty literally the man, like, damn the man. The system, not necessarily your friends, something that you're kind of working against. Not always great, but maybe you guys can work something out, hopefully. This card is your past. This card sucks. Now, this card is the Five of Pentacles. We had it reversed. I'll come to that in a second. But basically, this card in some decks is called Worry. As you can see, there's this sort of sketchy, homeless-looking guy that is basically the querent. He's somebody who's been through a lot and suffered a hell of a lot. The fact that it's reversed basically says to me that this is something that you've overcome, which is good. And, of course, it's also in the past, which is even better. Now, in the future, we have the King of Swords, which is great. Really good card, because basically swords is intellectual energy, air, somebody who's really together and focused. Now, the problem is that this card was upside down. So basically this means that this is something that is achievable for you for sure, but that you have to work toward. Like, it's not just going to come automatically. It's like this. But the fact that it's there at all says that it can be like this with the right effort. So, there you go. Now this is basically you on the surface. It's the Eight of Pentacles. As you can see, she is sort of an artist. She's making all these little guys here, these little pentacles. There's her little pen or scalpel or whatever she's got there. I really like this card. It's an artistic card, but it's also a studious card. I mean, it basically shows that, you know, this didn't happen by magic. This woman's hunched over, probably in great pain, you know, building this thing. But she's happy. But it is work. So that's important. Now, this below is you kind of beneath the surface, which is the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands is a really great card. I get it a lot for what it's worth. He's fiery, he's dynamic, he's passionate. I saw a celebrity tarot once that had this card as Bruce Lee. This is basically, you know, you beneath the surface. So this is definitely a good card to have. So that's good. This card basically is an advice card. It's the Hangman, which sounds bad, right? Because he's hanging. But as you see, he's hanging by his foot. He's not hanging by his neck. He's very much alive. But he's sort of in, he's kind of captive state. Meditative, kind of in a cocoon, maybe. Like you might see like a dangling insect larva like that. Or Odin hanging from the world tree. I think this card is sort of Odin-like. Anyway, so basically, advice is you kind of chill, because you don't really have a lot of choice, because you're hanging. But it's a meditative card. It's not a bad card. It just means reflect. Now, this card might be sort of what you're reflecting upon. This is the Moon, which is kind of a spooky, weird card. It means sort of occult things, hidden things, but not necessarily magic. It can also just mean sort of your intuition. This crab here that you see is kind of surfacing from the water. And I mean, that might be sort of thoughts bubbling up from your unconscious as you dangle on the world tree. So it's basically just sort of saying, reflect, chill. Think about stuff and let these things rise to the surface. Now, this is hopes and fears, and it's the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. And basically, the Wheel of Fortune is very similar. It's interesting to find this in the same throw as the World, because it's a really similar card in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, to find it in this spot, basically, it means you're just not sure. You know, your fear basically is that maybe things are out of whack. I mean, I suppose it's a typical enough thing to find in a fear. But, yeah, I wouldn't focus on it too much. But it basically means, you know, you're questioning. Is this what you want to do? You know. This card, the Outcome card, is a Page of Pentacles. And this one, I think, matches, interestingly, with the Eight of Pentacles, too. Remember her, the artist. basically, Page of Pentacles, I mean, he's somebody who's working, he's young, he's crafting, he's building. And that's basically the outcome of this, of what you're doing right now. I don't really know what's going to happen, obviously, with the school, etc. But to me, this sort of implies that you're on the right track. But I do think that a lot of these cards also imply that you can't rush things, that you kind of have to think about things. Again, this guy, you know, chill, pause, reflect, let these things come up to the surface. You know, don't rush into stuff. You know, be aware that being this guy isn't always necessarily that much fun. It's work, you know. I mean, like what she's doing. But, you know, I mean, ultimately, I mean, this is sort of you underneath it all. Knight of Wands, cool guy. And this is, you know, who you could be working toward being. So, I say good luck, man. I think things are going as they should, but I think also that you have to be open to things changing, you know, to be flexible, and also just be ready to do a lot of work, I think. That's definitely an implication of this card, these cards. So, good luck, man. I hope this helps.